Well, as you can see, the tarps that we put up lasted about 20 minutes the other day. Storms come running through from every direction, and we got some high winds, and these tarps just didn't stand a chance. Despite our best efforts, we really tried to keep the water out of this thing, and I think rather than fooling with these tarps anymore, we're just gonna go ahead and try to get these walls sheeted and get that done, because I feel like we're taking one step forward and two steps back right now. Well, Lydia and Ladley has gone to get the first set of windows and the first door that we're going to be putting in the wall. I'd like to go ahead and start framing that up, but I'm not going to do it until they get here. That way I can measure exactly what the rough opening is and start building the headers and all that good stuff. But while I'm waiting on them, I'm going to go ahead and start putting in all these anchor bolts, because this bottom plate of these walls through this whole building has to have anchor bolts installed.
So before I left the store, I went ahead and sent Jim the dimensions of what the window is going to be. He went ahead and got a head start on putting the studs in, putting the header plate, and going ahead and working on the bottom part of the window. Got a good helper today.
Oh yeah, that's what he's been doing all day.
Jim went ahead and got this window framed up yesterday. First one that we have done. So I'm going to go ahead and this is where the French doors are going to be that me and Ladley went and got yesterday. And then there's going to be another window right here. So I'm going to go ahead and make the cutout for that like Jim did. So the windows are going to be the same size. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark it and measure everything that I'm going to need and go ahead and pre-cut it. That way I know that it's going to all be the same. Got all my measurements here, so now it's time to cut. So I've got everything cut now, but I'm trying to decide if I want to move all this wood or not. This is like all of our extra stuff that we haven't been using, just like bracing and such, and I bet I could work around. Okay, So now I got all that cut, so now I have to look on the inside and see where Jim had marked the center of the window, which he said he did it on the bottom, I believe. Yeah, right here. So that means that I need to go 36 inches is the width of the window. So I need to take out at least these two studs. So the way that this opening ended up falling out was, of course, right smack dab in the middle of a stud. So we have some rather large gaps on each side that we're gonna have to fill in. But we can do that, that's not an issue. So at this point, it was a good thing that Jim got home because Gus was not much help whenever it came to figuring out the rest of the dimensions for the door. Jim's currently cutting off around 1.5 inches off the king studs that I had. Is that a king stud?
Jack stud.
Jack stud that I had made. I measured from the concrete, not the bottom of the stud. So at least it's 1.5 inches too long rather than 1.5 inches too short.
That's right. We can always cut off. It's not the easiest thing in the world to add back on. Okay, so if you haven't watched our videos prior to this one, you're probably wondering why we're framing the windows now instead of doing it before we stood the walls up. We're trying to get this roof on. So now we're coming back and framing in all the windows. Although it's not the easiest thing, easiest way to do it, this is what we have, so this is what we're doing.
Window 1 is done. Window 2 is done. So now we can start. Jim has already started on the French doors. So now that we got our jack studs and our king studs in, we get to cut out the middle of this, and that way we can go and put the door in.
Okay, it's a little premature because we need to put the siding on and all that kind of good stuff before we hang the windows, but I think we're going to go ahead and just put them in just to see what it looks like, just so we have a sense of how this thing's going to lay out.